Like the chairman of the Subcommittee on the Constitution, as ranking member, I too would like to address the constitutional concerns raised by this hearing. Our Republican colleagues have called this hearing today for one reason, because this White House, this president, continues to lose over and over again in court. As people and groups from across the political spectrum challenge the barrage of unconstitutional and illegal executive actions taken by this White House in just the first few weeks of this term. Because it doesn't matter if the judges were appointed by Bush or Biden or Obama or Reagan or by Trump himself. When the president attempts illegal or unconstitutional actions, United States judges, guided by the letter of the law, must rule against him. It's a confirmation of the total subservience of today's Republican Party to this president that their response to multiple judicial rulings of executive overreach is a hearing entitled Judicial Overreach and Constitutional Limits on Federal Courts, when we should be holding a hearing on presidential power grabs and constitutional limits on executive power. This is Civics 101. The Constitution provides in Article 1 that Congress writes the laws. In Article 2, the President administers the laws. And in Article 3, the courts interpret the laws. Our Republican colleagues are concerned about the unprecedented number of successful lawsuits challenging this president's executive overreach. But it's not the actions of the courts in interpreting our Constitution and laws that are unprecedented. It's the scope and breadth of this president's executive orders that are unprecedented. It's this president's attempt to go it alone, to usurp the power of Congress and we the people, to rewrite the laws of this country and the Constitution, and to reserve unto himself, rather than the judiciary, the right to interpret the laws and our Constitution. The sheer volume of unconstitutional and illegal actions taken by this president in just the first few weeks of his term has led some to wonder if the president fundamentally misunderstands the nature and terms of his Article 2 powers. Specifically, when Article 2, Section 3 says that the president shall take care to faithfully execute the laws passed by Congress, does this president think that the word execute means that he's supposed to kill laws rather than carry them out? Unfortunately, the underlying rationale for much of this action is a radical theory set forth in Project 2025 and elsewhere. It's one that would vest federal power in a unitary executive, sidelining two of the three co-equal branches of our government, Congress and the judiciary. We're here because Republicans who control the House and Senate have, thus far, chosen to abandon their constitutional duty to constrain an out-of-control executive branch. If they don't see anything wrong with it, their constituents do, and more of our colleagues would know that if they actually showed up at town halls in their districts. Our Constitution is built upon the rule of law, that no one is above the law, and our legal system is built on the idea of judicial independence. In the past 2 months, we've seen our judicial system working as the founders intended, and as the Supreme Court ruled in Madison versus Marbury over 200 years ago, it's the job of our judiciary to declare laws and executive actions unconstitutional if they're in conflict with the Constitution. The federal judges who've ruled against President Trump's unlawful power grabs are simply interpreting the Constitution and the laws passed by Congress to protect the rights of the American people. To suggest otherwise is to substitute a theory of executive primacy that is completely at odds with our constitutional history and separation of powers. Mr. Chairman, I wish that we could dismiss today's hearing as just political theory or theater, but the stakes are too high for the American people and their rights hang in the balance. While this administration has begun by attacking people it vilifies, including immigrants, students, or working people, no one should kid themselves. It's clear the rights of every American are at stake. When the White House and some of our colleagues claim the right to deny due process to immigrants who they claim have broken a law, that's a sham, because if you don't support the rights of immigrants to due process, then you don't support anyone's right to due process. Because without due process, the government can do whatever it wants to anyone, including citizens, and they aren't able to defend themselves. What's to stop ICE from saying that Mr. Roy or Mr. Jordan is a member of a violent gang and shipping them out of the country? Attacks on our courts, whether in the form of executive orders punishing law firms and lawyers that dare to stand up for the rule of law, or hearings like this attempting to constrain the courts, or tweets urging impeachment or violence against judges, are part of a broader attack on the rule of law. Our Republican colleagues have shown that they're not concerned about civil rights and the rule of law. Their sole concern appears to be whether or not a federal judge has ruled against this administration. They've gone so far as to call for impeaching judges who rule against this White House, eliminating courts altogether, or advocating to cut off funding for the court system. The fact is, if the president wants to end his legal woes, he can simply follow the Constitution and our laws. Because if a president issues illegal executive orders, the courts are duty-bound to block them. But rather than accepting that reality, our Republican colleagues would rather hand the president the keys to unchecked authoritarian power. Let's be real. Americans elect a president every 4 years, not a king. Even if President Trump had won a landslide electoral victory, which he didn't, that would be beside the point. An electoral victory does not justify running roughshod over the courts and the Constitution, which every president is sworn to uphold. Presidential power is not absolute. When President Trump empowers Elon Musk to ignore laws Congress passed or slash funding Congress appropriated, he's undermining the power of the American people who voted us into office. If President Trump's agenda is as popular as he claims, he can work with his allies in Congress to convince the American people to support it. But he has no right to simply do whatever he wants just because House and Senate Republicans don't have the backbone to stop him. Democrats and independents are standing up against President Trump's blatant power grabs because if he can deny the rights of some people, there's nothing stopping him from denying the rights of all people all across America. And that should concern everyone in this room and everyone across this nation. I yield back.